Hello, and welcome back to my Comprehending Consciousness series. This is episode 14, and I'm going to be talking about shadow work. This shadow work term is very ancient and esoteric. It involves a lot of introspection and internal processing. So there is no surprise that there is a very sugar-coated version that's sort of plastered all over the mainstream. And a lot of times when you first get into even the New Age conscious community, it becomes very obvious that there is this thin layer of ice kind of across the top of the pond, is how I was describing it in the last episode for 13 about light work, because it's a similar problem that we have with shadow work. It's a glazed across version that is very false and offers a dangerous area to start to try to build onto. There's a lot of false conceptions, right? We go into a term like shadow work, and whether or not you have heard it out there or not, it sounds kind of like out there, and I definitely am speaking from a place of experience and from, former conceptions that I had myself, But, however, spending time in ruminating and realizing the deep connections out there to other terms, I realized, wait a minute, shadow work in itself is really almost a higher vision or 5D version of quote-unquote therapy, counseling, psychotherapy. All of these words we have for the psychology realm, where you go to get help from some kind of counselor or psychologist or something, right? Shadow work is like that. It's that introspection, the digging inside of you into what things maybe you're hiding or you're uncomfortable with. So it's no surprise, right, that it's so distorted, it is so inverted, and there's so many delusions and traps around this whole thing. Shadow work, I feel, is almost as misunderstood as the world of psychology. It's important that we remember these words, these terms, right? And I call them iceberg terms. There are so much more than they first appear, right? They are in themselves tools, more or less, right? They're not just words, they're tools. They're whole bodies of working components, right, that we can use in such a spectrum and variety of ways. That, on top of the fact that we're in duality, right? There's always positive and negative charges. There's two ways to use these tools, right? We can use them as beneficial for all and in a positive service that creates something beneficial for a greater good for all others, right? Excluding no one. Or we can tighten in our perspective and box in and make restrictions and confine our attention and our directive into a specific purpose, right? And that restriction itself is negatively aligning and charging that perspective, that person, the energy body, whatever it is, entity, in a negative alignment, because it's restricted. It's hiding itself from initial truth of oneness, of source, from itself, right? It's bending its light inwards, creating shadow of some sort. And so when we don't have a first working idea of what it means to have a real truth, to walk in your truth or light, and what that means to honor it or to create shadows within yourself. It we can be tricked and deceived so easier into falling into the alignment of the negative versions and tools that are shadow work or psychology or therapy or whatever you want to call these things. There's a whole world, an avenue of growth, that the manyness taking place that is negatively aligned in the world of shadow work, right? Yet, at the same time, if you choose to align and change your area of attention and intention, you will be brought into an entire other alignment realm, directionality, which is truth-based and actually positively seeking real service to the whole other, to source and to your real shadow inside you, right? So that intentional direction of your energy input, of your knowledge processing, is what makes or breaks your shadow work, and what makes or breaks the collective's shadow work in extension, unfortunately, because we are all a reflection, right, out to that great exterior world that's like being portrayed or shown on stage to all of us. And so it becomes so important, right? And I've been writing so many blogs and talking so much about the manipulation of humanity's ascension, about the string pulling and puppeteering that goes on to contort and control ascension. And unfortunately, just like everything in your work, all of your own personal ascension, your own personal growth in your life starts with this inner work and the inner battle, the manipulation, the deceit, the illusions, infringements that are coming from the negative structuring also target that area first, because it's foundational. And so when you don't know that, recognize it, work to keep your foundation strong every day, you become super susceptible to negative alignment and charge collecting, because so much of the processing, so much of you collecting your alignment of your shadow creations can be done subconsciously when you're not realizing your light, your originality, your truth and uniqueness is important and is valuable in each decision you make, right? Of course, you know, they don't want you to know that. They want you to stay in this frivolous idea of shadow work. They want you to stay in the pharmaceutical realm of psychiatric care. They want to monitor and restrict you. They want to set you up on, you know, I'm going to get so carried away. If you are interested in listening to my opinion about the real manipulations and all that, I'll do a second video off to the side about deeper into this and getting into kind of the shadow workings and all of these, the string pullings. I did a blog on it already and a podcast, so I'll link those below. If in the meantime, before I do a video, this wake up video has sparked your interest, you can check those out and see a bit more of my in-depth ranting about this nonsense. But for here, I'm just really trying to keep it quick. I'm trying to reel myself back in because the last videos I've gotten almost half an hour on some of them, and I really want to keep these quick and sweet and to the point for people who are new, so we don't overwhelm people who are new. If you're not new, if you're ready to be overwhelmed, check the links below, because, you know, I can talk about this for hours. To reel it in, right? So we have this false idea, this false setting that they really want and they promote of shadow work out there. However, true shadow work, like I've been saying, is really like this 5D version, this utopian version of soul searching, of digging through your traumas and working through them. Energetic alchemy is what I love to call it and envision it as, because it really gives that creative response in our brains to where our imagination can see energies and understand that these harder energies, lower vibe energies, are harder. They're bound together with these tight, uncomfortable feelings, all different kinds of negative feelings, right? And they get into these disgusting knots of entanglements. And if we can see them as in a shadow work as energy alchemy, right? Bringing in the breath, bringing in visions of releasing and loosening drawing out of toxins. There's so many of these beautiful workings that come in with true shadow work, that they're just intricate, unique, and distinct to your experience, to your healing path, you know? But you'll never get into it if you get lost in the frivolousness, you know? And you allow fear and worry to divert or detour you from diving deep, right? So with shadow work comes the need for trust and faith. And unfortunately, it's like a double-edged sword, because those of us who really should need to do a lot of shadow work or have a lot of shadows, they're built out of a lot of fear and uncomfortable feelings. And like, we think we're doing ourselves a service by ignoring them or not diving into them because we think we're deterring the greater pain of later. However, that's such a catch-22 and a real liar's loop, because if you just dealt with it now, yes, it's uncomfortable now, but it can never build to anything larger. All it's doing is building to larger while you're ignoring it. You think you're ignoring it, saving yourself something for later, but really you're ruining your present moment just to feel more pain later. It's not honest, right? And that's the true thing about shadow work. It takes courage to be honest with yourself. It takes courage to dive deep, to have faith and trust. And so, like I was just saying, you know, those of us who do this a lot, who have liar loops and are avoiding, we think we're saving ourselves pain. We think we're in the least amount of pain as possible right now, and so we're keeping this comfortable level. But we're forgetting, and we're not allowing ourselves to remember that you can feel amazing and joyful and wonderful, excited and happy the very second you choose to. Always. It's always there for you. And if you just say F it and take a second to dig through some of the uncomfortable toppings, the low-hanging fruits, you realize you're cleared up a little bit. And yeah, maybe a lot of things are stuck in a loop still, and maybe there's still lots of shadows. But if you do honest, accepting introspection of those quick, easiest things that you really know that I can attack this right now. I could comb through this right now. It isn't that deep. It isn't that painful. You know, you'll start to realize the soothing effects of that, right? You'll start to see less anxiety, less worry. You'll start to feel more relaxed, and that's when the work starts to pay off for itself, and you can understand the value of real shadow work. But it takes honest willing to heal, just like everything else, you know. Excuse me. If you can jump on that honest willingness to look at things for what they are, then you're doing shadow work. It comes in such a variety of options. So I'm almost saying 15 minutes. I want to quickly just touch on, if you're interested in shadow work, different ways that you can get started. I have a whole tools tab on amariespeaks.com, my website, that has all free links, references, books, videos, you know, things that I've used, tools about shadow work. So if you're ready to dive deep, you could hop over there and see all types of stuff, or use whatever of your search engines or your social medias that you use if you prefer that, and type it in, because it is everywhere. But like I said, be mindful. You have to be in the right place to approach shadow work. And if you're not, reach out for help. You know, find somebody who you resonate with to be that guiding light for you, really, who can use their light as that cast down while you sort through the shadow, you know, because a lot of us, we get wrapped up in trying to do light work and shadow work at the same time, and we don't realize that there can be a lot of distortions and hiccups when we attempt to do that, especially when we don't have a lot of clearing happening. So if you're new to all of this, if you're new to tapping into your own internal light, but you want to, reach out for help or some more guidance, right? use some guided meditations, or reach out to a live person who you know who has some experience, who can be a real support system to you. With that said, quick things that you can try for general shadow work or introspection, right, is to make a list of your affinities and your faults, honestly, and take true minutes to write down what you see as like your gifts and your talents, right, and things that are your faults or you feel you fall short on. Don't spend time critiquing yourself, and don't get wrapped up in the negatives, right? Stay in an observer role. Try to, as much as you can. Oh yes, I should have said this at the beginning. When we go into shadow work especially, we try to get into the observer role, right? We try to pull out of our inner child, out of our ego, even out of our light workspace, and be an observer, or tap into our higher self as much as we can, right? To step out and see ourselves, our ego, inner child, the personalities, the emotions, spiritual body, physical body, from the space of unconditional love, infinite intelligence, the ether, source, or God, you know. We're trying to really step out of ourself and view ourselves, say, as you would view your best friend, or as your child, or your grandmother, or somebody, you know, or a pet, you know, a pet you love or something. Any of that kind of honest, just love you exactly for you are, everything you do is cute, you could, you know, you could make a mess, and you know, I still love you through it all, clean it up with a smile on my face, that kind of energy, right? You have to be able to embody that space for yourself at some level, at least, you know, at least a feeling of stability there, of confidence, of faith, non-sarcastic, not, you know, not a negative connotation of that space. When you can get into a strong space of that, then you're really ready to do shadow work like this, right? Anyways, you know, it can happen in a great space of meditating. If you're not into making lists of pros and cons and looking at it hardly like that, you can do this in a space of meditating, right? And it can be work with your ego or inner child, or if you have specific triggering memories or traumas and you're ready to go back and work through those, you know, guided meditations that tap into breath work or energy alchemy, where we're visualizing releasing these stored up uncomfortable clogs in our piping, so to speak, our energetics piping. That stuff is amazing. It works. And your unique body's infinite intelligence, your spiritual connection to your imagination space will guide that kind of working and tell you personally how your body vessel shows up in your imagination space, what it looks like, where blockages are, or if it is color or sound or something that I am not even describing. That's perfect. That is you. You know, we are each our own fractal of source creation here for this unique working. And so don't ever, ever let any worker, helper, any professional guide or master, voice in your head, source God who says it is, a being of higher knowledge, I don't care who they claim they are, Jesus Christ himself. Never, 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 never follow truth but your own. Never alter an envisionment which is coming from your gut, bottom of your soul, heart, being, whatever you feel that soul inner space is. Or, you know, some people even really, they're super head spaced and it is a brain, kind of, it comes through the mind, you know, but it has a hearkening to your truth. It has a chord to it, a strong sense of knowing. Never alter or change that, or distort it. Or if they're telling you, no, that's not right, see it this way, or alter it, change it this little, you know, you shouldn't see it in this way, it shouldn't be spinning that way, it should be doing this, or this is the, you know, knowing your truth and standing in your space is the most important thing. We are all here for that reason. We are all here to portray our unique part, is my main stamp on the end of this video, because that is the most important thing that comes. You know, and it's a dangerous double-edged sword here that we're walking on, because there is a chance to use these things negatively. They're tools, right? Just like a hammer. You can build a beautiful house, you can smash a head in. It's not the hammer's fault. it shouldn't deter you from knowing how a hammer can be used either, you know? But the choice is yours when you hold that tool, right? How you wield it, how you use it, if you appreciate it, what you notice about it, what you do with it. And shadow work is just like that. And so thank you so much for joining me. I've now gone past the 15. I'm into 20 minutes. If you have any more curiosities, like I said, I'm going to drop those links, so be sure to check them out there or leave me a comment. And I will catch you next time for episode 15. I hope you have a beautiful day or evening wherever in the world you are. Thanks so much for joining me. And if you haven't seen previous episodes in the series, definitely go check those out as well. And I'll catch you next time.